All right, the first ever Scorpion Series fight prediction show with James Gray and Brian Fornasiero. I've been stoked about this. We're going to have an ongoing series here at the Michigan Institute of Athletics where we have a game show. We're going to place our bets. We're going to lay our knowledge on the line, and we're going to really have a little bit of healthy competition about the sport that we participate in. So with me today is Brian Fornasiero. We're going to go over the basic game rules for everybody as this is the first episode, and then we'll lightly cover them in the future. We'll go over the fights, and we're going to get right into this thing. So Brian, take over. Go over the first rule of the game.
All right, so the game rules. And rule number 1 is going to be we have $1,000 total to bet.
Rule number 2 is all of the bets must be placed before the show. So you see the cards on the table. We have already submitted our bets so that if I present an articulate argument, Brian can't go back on his pick and vice versa. If I made a selection and Brian presents a great case, I cannot change it. The cards that you see on the table, we have already placed our amounts and made our bets.
Rule number 3, so you must bet at least $100 on each fight.
Rule number 4 is the largest profit wins. We're here to make money. We're taking our bets and we're trying to be the most profitable. So even if someone was to get 5 predictions right, but they only bet a tiny amount on, let's say, the heavy mismatched fights, they may not make as much money as someone that only had 3 or 4 correct that bet more money on the better odds. So number 5?
Number 5 is going to be the winner becomes the host. And when you become the host, you get to issue a challenge against the next person you want to go against in the game.
That's something that I'm incredibly excited about because I know a couple people in this gym that I want to call out right off the bat. I know an easy pick. If I win, that's what I'm going to go with, and we'll see where Brian takes his options. So let's get right into the fights. The main event on this card, we got Robert Whittaker taking on Darren Till.
The next fight, Shogun Rua and Rogerio Nogueira.
Then Alexander Gustafsson takes on Fabricio Werdum.
Carla Esparza and Marina Rodriguez.
And then Gadzhimurad Antigulov, if I did not butcher that, versus Paul Craig. So, Brian, why don't you go over the first matchup, reveal your selection, explain your case, and then I'll do mine.
So for the first matchup, it's the Antigulov and Craig. I decided to only bet $100 on that fight, and I'm going with Antigulov. The reason being I haven't seen too much fight footage on either guy. I know I've watched Paul Craig fight before. I don't think I've seen Antigulov fight. But right now, I just feel like the Russians have been killing it, and that is kind of my reason for that one. I know they both have some good submission wins. The striking, they're not huge strikers, I don't think. But, I'm just going to go with Antigulov on that one. Only $100.
I really like it because right off the bat, we have different predictions. So I was torn on that fight. I really had a tough time making a call on that fight. But I did watch the submission skills of Paul Craig. I was spending a lot of time on the early matchups today because I knew the higher-end matchups. And for some reason, I just had this weird feeling that the Russian is really going to pressure for the takedown. But I think he can fall into being out-grappled at his own game because he has such a Russian style, almost like what you alluded to. So I'm going to take Paul Craig. Putting $300 on that prediction. I'm coming in hot. Wow. I really have this weird feeling when I watched both of their tapes that I think Paul Craig is going to shock everybody and upset the Russians because my initial instinct said, go with the Russian. They're just all grinders. But something says, you know what? We're going to go Paul Craig. So
That's a whole lot of money to bet on that one.
I know, man. I really did. I was thinking about this earlier today, and I started to get nervous about it. I go, am I going to open up with that big? But I don't know. I watched both of their tapes, and I really just have this feeling like it's a safer bet than you think. So I'll go over the next matchup, and I'll go first. We'll go back and forth. So Carla Esparza versus Marina Rodriguez. This one, I spent over an hour today bouncing back and forth on. I went from one side to the other, and I kept trying to justify it to myself on why I wanted to go with this prediction. And I'm going to go ahead and cite the Joanna Jędrzejczyk versus Carla as the reason for my pick. I'm going to go with Marina Rodriguez because she is such a good striker. She is long, she is dynamic, and because of what Joanna did, and now obviously Joanna in her, when she's on fire, was on fire, but I think the blueprint is there for beating Carla Esparza. So I went ahead and put another 300 on Marina Rodriguez following the blueprint of Joanna Jędrzejczyk beating Carla Esparza.
Wow. I actually had the same issue with this fight. Like, I sat there before this show, actually, for at least a good 15, 20 minutes. And I just kept bouncing it back and forth of, like, I honestly do think Marina overall is the better fighter. Her striking and, like, she's very a little bit unorthodox, and she's very clean with her striking. She's got good grappling. Like, when she fought Cynthia Cavillo, that was a great fight. They went to a draw. But, man, the X factor of Carla's wrestling. She's very short, and it's going to be super tough for her on the feet. But I actually did put 150 on Carla because I was looking through Marina's stuff, and, like, she doesn't finish that many top-level girls. And Carla is going to be tough to stop the wrestling for every round. Like, Carla could just hit one takedown at the start of the round and keep her on the ground and win. And I just felt like it's going to be tough to stop her wrestling. She's been taken down a couple of times, which, yeah, she did great. She works back up. But Carla might be able to hold her down for as long as she needs to and just get that decision win, I think.
I felt the same way, man. I really said she is so relentless with her takedown. She is nonstop in your face. And that was what was giving me the most trouble is she only needs one. She only needs one takedown a round. If she can get one takedown a round, Marina will lose the fight. And, it's funny that you say I ping-ponged all day, but for some reason I bounced on the other side. And, this is amazing because the first two predictions, you and I thought we were going to have the same predictions down the card. And here we are. We have not made a single same prediction.
No.
So you go into the next one?
All right, so we got Gustafsson and Werdum. Man, for that one, this has a huge thing to do with time. Give me this fight like 5 years ago, where Werdum is on top. I mean, his jiu-jitsu is incredible. Gustafsson obviously has amazing striking, but I would have said Verdum's just going to get him to the ground. He's got good enough striking that he'll be able to hold his own on the feet, and then he'll get him to the ground and sub him. But now that time has passed, I know Gustafsson is hopping up a weight class, but I just think he's got a little more left in him. Werdum hasn't been looking the greatest lately. So even though the odds kind of suck for me making money on this fight, I decided to go with another 150 on Gustafsson.
I actually came to the exact same conclusion. I was looking at the fight and I said the Werdum that submitted Fedor and was smashing people back in the day, I think he beats Gustafsson in a matchup, especially because Gustafsson's moving up.
I mean, him and Kane, remember that
Oh
fight?
my God. Incredible, man. I think that Fabricio Werdum beats Gustafsson, but looking at all the cards on the table right now and where they are in their career, I made the same exact prediction. I went ahead and said Gustafsson, but I only put $100 on that fight. I really felt torn about it, and I think time is the deciding factor. I'm agree with you 100% on that one. So now we get to Mauricio Shogun, who a true legend of the mixed martial arts game out of Brazil, and Rogerio Nogueira, Little Nog. You know what I mean? Two people that are icons of the sport. And this is a timing fight because this is a fight where two people very, very late in their career, and the question is, who's taken more damage, who is held up better over time, who's faced higher level competition. It was tough, but this was actually one of the matchups decisions I made easier out of all the picks. Yeah. I went Mauricio Shogun, who $100. No disrespect to Little Nog. I just think stylistically, Hua presents too many problems for Little Nog. He's not going to fall into his grappling game. He's a really good counter wrestler. He's got nasty striking, and he's former top of the food chain. Top of the food chain.
Yeah.
What'd you call?
I actually have the same thing. I bet 300 on Shogun. I mean, Nogueira, he's got great boxing. I mean, he's durable as they come. They're both late in their career. They both taken a lot of damage. I just feel like Shogun's just got a little bit more in him. I could definitely see this fight going to a decision again because they're both so tough. I just think Shogun's going to mix it up a little bit better, and he'll take this win.
I think so too. I think the Muay Thai is going to be a factor. I think his kicks and the diversity in striking. I think in a boxing match, Rogerio wins. Yeah. But in mixed martial arts competition, with all the cards on the table, the fact that Nogueira is not some stud wrestler that's been proven to give Rua trouble. I think it's going to be a great fight. And I could actually see this going either way. I mean, Nogueira could absolutely pull out a phenomenal performance, but I went with Shogun Rua. So then it switches over to you for the main event. So obviously we already know, money-wise, I have $200 on the last fight. And what do you have left on the table? So you have $300, $400, $700. So that means you went... Ooh, ladies and gentlemen, that means Brian's got 300 on the main event. And I did not have the balls to place there. I went with 200. I'll tell you right now. Brian, what are you going? 300, where's it placed?
So my 300, this is for the Whittaker and Till fight, the main event. I had to go with Robert Whittaker.
I knew it.
Which James Gray called before the show.
I did.
But Whittaker, I mean, he was champ at 185. He's beaten some of the toughest dudes in the division. I mean, Romero, all those guys. Obviously, he got knocked out in his last fight. I mean, Stylebender, he's tough. He can knock out anybody. So it will be a test to see how does Whittaker come back after being knocked out. But I think if you were a champ at any point, you will always have that championship mentality. Which I think he's going to bring to the table. He'll be able to mix it up. We've seen him against some of the best strikers in the division. We've seen him against the best wrestlers in the division. I think all around he's amazing in every aspect. Obviously, Till has that huge X factor of that power, which he is coming up from 170. I mean, he's fought a couple of fights now at 185, but will the pressure of being against an ex-champ and one of the best, this is going to be one of the best dudes, if not the best dude that Till has ever fought. He went to a split decision, I think, last fight against Kelvin Gastelum. I just think Whittaker on this one is just going to be a little bit too much, and he'll have this slight edge almost everywhere, and he'll be able to negate the power a little.
I'm going to agree with you on this one. So I went 200 on Whittaker, and the reason I'm making this pick is a couple of reasons. First of all, I think timing's a big factor. Darren Till at one point had mysticism about him. He was almost being talked about as the 185 Conor McGregor. People saw this big gorilla coming in, putting people to sleep, and it created, you could almost see the hesitation in his opponents when he stepped in the ring. A little bit of that mysticism has faded from Jorge Masvidal and like some of the tough fights that he went. And not that I don't think he's going to bounce back. I mean, I think Darren Till could show up in phenomenal performance. But when, like you said, championship mindset is a different level. Those people that are able to become champion of the world, they get there for a reason. And beyond that, I think their camp is on fire right now. I think, Robert Whittaker is training in a team that is surrounded by the right energy right now. He's going to come back on fire. He believes in himself. He really believes himself to be the top of the division still. And like you said, taking a loss to Israel Adesanya, write that off.
Anybody could get their lights put out.
Write that off. You know what I mean? And you know what? If they fought again, it could go a completely different way. So I think this is going to be a phenomenal matchup. I think there's going to be a ton of excitement from start to finish, regardless how the fight goes, because like you said, there's an X factor with Till. He has some scary power. I mean, watch videos of that guy sparring, and you're going, man, you don't want to take a shot from him.
Yeah, he's a dangerous dude.
He's extremely dangerous. So it's, we have all of our bets on the table now. We have, that's supposed to say, I just wrote them quickly before the show. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, that's supposed to say 200.
Switching his bets already on us.
No. Brian saw me blow through my car. I tried to memorize them all day, but I had 200 on my main event fight. So as you can see, we've laid $1,000 on the line. And the cool thing is I'm going to have the odds pop up on the podcast. So if you're watching this right now, right about now, up on the screen, you're going to see Brian's bet predictions. You're going to see my bet predictions, and then what the payouts will be on each fight. So at the end of the day, Brian, with his bets, is capable of making this amount. And then with my bets, I'm capable of making this amount. And then we're going to figure out at the end of the show who gets to stay to be the host. So let's talk Brian, if you are to be the winner of the show, you beat me, you end up, the eye of the Jew pulls through and you got the money. Who's the person you're going to call out for the next contention? And why?
Over the past few days, I've really debated about this. And there's two people that came to my mind. One was Danny Barry. The thing about Danny...
Solid choice.
He's a very competitive man, and I feel like me and him would be, super close. And then I had this other person in mind who I think, you know what? I'm going to just run through this guy. So maybe I take an easy second pick with Taylor Moore. and run through him. And then I pick the boss man, Danny Barry.
You know what? I'm going to go ahead and agree with you on that, Brian. I'm going to say if I get to continue to be the host, I'm going to take the easy out. I'm going to maintain my title for one round first. I'm going to call out Taylor Moore. So if you're listening in, Taylor, regardless of who wins this show, we want the easy matchup. We want to stay host. We want to celebrate for a while. We don't want to have to stress for the fight card. And then same thing, Danny Barry, I'm telling you right now, I'm coming for you. You better start studying. You better get all that education to work. Me and Brian are coming after you. So, everyone, I hope you enjoyed the show. I hope you watched the fight card. We're going to produce this. This will be always uploaded 2 days before the fight. So we're going to put it up. That way you guys have 48 hours to watch before, listen to the banter back and forth, listen to our decisions. And either way, we're going to keep the show running. And whether it's me or Brian, Wednesday nights will be when we film these. We'll produce them and put them online Thursday. And then it's going to make the cards exciting. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you tuned in. And, we'll see you Saturday night.
We'll see you on the other side with me with my hand raised.